Good afternoon, brothers, and welcome to episode 7. That's right, episode 7 of Pod Kappa, the podcast about anything and everything Phi Kappa Tau. Well, unless you are living under a rock or do not follow us on social media, you will have noticed that this last week was Conclave week. And for those of you who do not know what Conclave is, basically it is a great homecoming from Phi Kappa Tau. You get to come to Oxford, Ohio, and see where we were founded. Some of the things that were talked about at this conclave include recruitment tactics from National Recruitment Advisor Mr. Barry Mask. Also, we had the Bowls Dinner for those who are in the Bowls Foundation Society. And we also had the awards given out that are given out every single year. So, if you followed along this podcast, you will notice that the point of this podcast has been to talk to different people that work at the executive offices and not only get to know them, but also their positions, so that way everybody can get to know what we do on a day-to-day basis here at the executive offices in Oxford, Ohio, which people got to see on the Pride Tours. Also, that was included at Conclave. You got to see the executive offices, Alpha House, you got to see where Shideler lived, you got to see where we were founded, and all of our memorabilia on Miami's campus and how Phi Tau will continue to live on this campus for many generations to come. So, with all that being said, we decided to throw a curveball today. On this episode, we will not be talking to anyone from the executive office staff. We will not be looking into different jobs or anything like that. Instead, we're going to take a look at what the executive offices serve, which would be all 91 undergraduate chapters and colonies of Phi Kappa Tau. On this episode, we interviewed a handful of undergraduates, and we got to talk to them about what their chapters have done well over the past year, what they've enjoyed about Conclave, and what they hope to do in this upcoming school year, as well as we also interviewed the Maxwell chapter winners, which would be Gamma from the Ohio State University. Yes, you're welcome for throwing the in there. As well as we also had an interview with the Shideler winner, Mr. Evan Marshall from Upsilon at Nebraska Wesleyan. We talked to him about not only what his chapter does well, but also a really great interview that I think a lot of you will like and might be able to use in your chapters. We talk about how they deal with complacency in the chapter, and we also talk about what the award means to him. Please sit back and enjoy. So now I'm joined by
Aaron Kosafat, Gamma Iota chapter at Sac State. Initiation date, spring 2016.
So is this your first national event?
This is my second. I went to President's Academy. That was my first one.
Okay,
recently.
Very nice. What do you, with this being your first time in Oxford and get to see not only where we were founded, but also getting to talk about recruitment, taking the Pride Tours and all that. What do you think of Conclave so far?
I think Conclave's been amazing. It's cool that we were founded here and that we've donated a lot of money to Miami, Ohio, and that a lot of people have donated to the Phi Tau Foundation. And the seminars and the speakers have been great, and they've taught me some good methods about recruiting, and I'm looking forward to implementing those and trying to get a strong class for this fall and the future. And we have a lot of goals we want to achieve.
Let's talk about some of those goals. What do you expect to achieve in the next year, whether it be, like some big philanthropy events, how much you want to donate, guys you want to get, stuff like that?
We want to get around 10 guys, and for philanthropy, we want to raise over 1,000 like we did last semester. And we want to build better relationships with our alumni, do more alumni events. So we're planning 4 to 5 alumni events and keep them connected with newsletters. We'll do around 2 to 3. And we just want to build better relationships with the school and better relationships with the IFC fraternities, Panhellenic sororities, and the USFC fraternities and the multicultural organizations on campus at Sacramento.
So what would you say would be the number one thing that your chapter does well?
Number one thing that our chapter does well is scholarship. We have a really good GPA. We have one of the top GPAs in our IFC community, and we have a good implement scholarship program. Everyone's accountable for each other, and we're getting better with it. We want to get a higher GPA. We want over a 3.0 this next semester, so we're working on it, and we're doing more study hours, more accountability, and brotherhood study hours so that we can get to those goals and increase our scholarship and get more scholarships.
Would you say that's a key point on you guys trying to hit for recruitment, is that you're very scholarship oriented, and that through that you also build the brotherhood of trying to keep guys accountable, as well as you might have somebody to study with?
Yeah, we have a lot of scholarship opportunities, and if you get over a 3.0, you get a lunch provided by our BOG, so that's pretty awesome. And we're trying to do incentives, and we tell the new potential members that school first, and then you have your fraternity and you can have fun after that. But we want guys to graduate in 4 to 5 years, and we take school like work with pride.
Awesome, man. Sounds like you guys are definitely rocking and rolling. And hey, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, so now I'm joined by
Austin Way Molina of Zeta Rho of Spring 19.
And so with you being a new chartering chapter, just talk about how was chartering day, and talk about how big of a day that was for your chapter.
Well, chartering day took probably about 5 months worth of preparation, booking everything on campus and getting all the people down from headquarters and all that. So it was definitely a huge day. We had in attendance probably about 200 people, family, friends, and everything. Very expensive day too, but it was definitely well worth it. The charter was very well earned, worked very hard for it.
Would you say that was your favorite day in Phi Tau so far?
Yeah, definitely for our chapter I would say it is, and then the rest of it would be traveling for Conclave and stuff like that.
So outside of chartering, what would you say your highlight has been this past year for your chapter?
I'd definitely say the volunteering, growing in the community and getting to know. We do a lot of work with homeless shelters. We feed homeless people in the Columbus area for 7 days a week, 365 days a year, even on holidays. So definitely that community outreach.
What is your favorite part of Conclave so far that you've experienced?
Definitely the knowledge, because we are new. So the recruitment knowledge, definitely from Barry and the other chapters for the Maxwell Final Four. Their knowledge definitely helped. And then the brotherhood, getting to know people, make connections and all that. We're going to have some events with Auburn and Alabama and some other stuff for Rush and stuff like that. So the connections is definitely being useful.
So where do you see your chapter kind of going from here, and what do you hope to expect to achieve in the next calendar year?
So hopefully within the next year. Right now, with our last spring, we only got 2 guys because with our campus it's a little difficult. But right now we're looking at between a 20 and 40 man class. Probably the biggest our campus has seen in a very long time. So as long as we can get that, we're trying to triple our size, raise more money, do more service hours, and just keep growing and becoming more of an impact on our campus and our community.
Perfect. Well, hey, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I'm joined by
Hayden Smith, Delta Kappa Colony.
So for you guys being a colony, especially because you just colonized here in the spring, kind of talk about what that process has been like over the past semester of just joining Phi Tau and then building such a strong colony already.
Yeah, so I mean it has been an adventure so far with national recruiters coming in and everything. I think they really did a good job of getting the guys in we have now. We're about mid-40s right now. I mean, for the most part, we have a pretty strong bond. We do every weekend, every day. We're always either studying or going playing rec sports or whatever it is. We're usually, every moment of the day, we at least have one brother with us. Trying to spread informal recruitment is kind of really big for us. We're always actively searching, trying to get up to that campus average to work on that, getting the charter. So,
do you guys see yourself potentially chartering within the next calendar year? Is that definitely an attainable goal, you think?
Yeah, we're setting on for 12 months. We're doing pretty well so far. We're getting a lot of the stuff checked off on the list. I mean, me being here for Conclave is another check in the book. So we're on pace right now for 12 months, and we'll see how well that goes.
With this being your first national event, what do you think of Conclave so far? What do you think of touring Miami, where we were founded, especially for you having just joined, as well as what's your favorite part been so far?
Not going to lie, originally was going in with a blind eye here, and it's really been eye-opening. It's a great experience so far, just connecting with everybody. I mean, like, you may not know any of them, but you know your brothers anyway. So I'd say the best part is just hearing from all these other fraternities, like from the top 4 in the nation to people that only have like 12 guys. It's really eye-opening and great to take in all the knowledge that they have, so we can go into our first formal rush this upcoming semester.
Do you think that you'll feel more confident that you'll be able to bring back some tips and tricks to help you with this first formal recruitment?
Oh, for sure. I mean, just hearing like the little things like, helping the freshmen move in, or, make sure you bring up these topics. Don't ask these kind of questions. Like, have this attitude. Just the little things I think I can bring back is really going to help us in the long run. So
outside of chartering, do you guys expect any big events in the upcoming year, or what do you expect to achieve in the next upcoming year?
We have some pretty high standards because, to charter you have to have so many standards, but we try to keep ourselves accountable. We set everything just a little bit higher than that. We have lots of, from what I've been told, we got a few philanthropy events set it up. I'm personally the social chair, so we're trying to get some outreach to some local influencers online. They're going to come through and maybe sponsor a couple events. Trying to partner with a couple of other fraternities on campus to really get our name out there. So
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right, so now I'm joined by the cowboy himself.
My name is Hunter Pemberton. I'm a member of the Alpha Phi chapter of the University of Akron, and I was initiated in spring 18.
It's a very nice chapter that you have there, sir. Great chapter.
We like to think so.
So talk to me a little bit about how the chapter's doing. What's this past year looked like, and where do you guys see yourself going in the next year?
Well, that past year has actually been really great as we've actually raised our community service hours, and we're the #1 chapter on campus in regards to average community service hours per member, which we're pretty proud of. We reached that 3.0 GPA mark as a chapter average, which we haven't done in years, so that was nice, and we're still overall heading in the right direction. We're really looking forward to it.
So this is your first time being to Oxford and getting to not only experience where we were founded, but also Conclave. What's been your favorite part of Conclave so far?
Honestly, I wasn't really too sure what to expect coming into this, yeah, we see Phi Tau chapters all across the country and stuff like that, but this is where we were founded, and that's a pretty cool feeling to show up, when you go to a different school, but knowing where you what stuff you learn in new member education, all that stuff was founded right here in these buildings. And it makes for just a cool feeling when you're walking by and seeing everything the founders like Boyd, Shideler, Bordell, and Douglas all did. It's just crazy to see in the campus tours and showing how involved the REIT community is here in the community itself is just incredible, something you don't get at very many places around the country.
Do you think that these kind of events help guys kind of rejuvenate their passion for Phi Tau or even help them drive to further better their chapters, especially with Conclave talking about recruitment? Do you think that you feel well enough equipped to take what you learned back here to your chapter?
See, being from a smaller chapter, I feel like I don't always get the same problems or you have to deal with the same problems as other chapters, but when I come to events like this, it's so nice to know that I'm not the only one out there. And I'm not the only one dealing with these issues that I have with chapters, whether it be recruitment, retention, all that other stuff. It's just been really cool to be able to come down here and get some of that information from other people that don't make you feel so alone all the time.
So what are some goals or some expectations that you expect the chapter not only to reach but attain in the next upcoming school year?
In the next upcoming school year, thankfully I'll be finishing up my term as president, which has been a whirlwind to say the least. I'm just looking forward to hopefully continuing with the community service hours raised. We beat every chapter by several hours, but I want to basically blow them out of the water and go even farther past them, kind of make us known and be definitely better on campus. And other than that, community service hours is, like I said, was big, but other than that is the philanthropy. We have a golf outing coming up on August 3rd for any alumni or anybody in the area who wants to play up in Sable Creek up in near Kent, Ohio. And we're really looking forward to that, and hopefully that'll help us capture a couple of Greek Leadership Awards on our campus as far as philanthropy raised, community service, and like I said earlier, with the GPA requirement.
Sounds awesome, man. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Appreciate you having me.
All right, now I'm joined by
Jay Johnson, Zeta Eta, 18.
Okay, so talk to me about just your experience at Conclave so far. What have you liked? Have you liked what you've seen so far where we were founded with your first trip to Oxford?
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously this conclave was really focused on rush and being able to focus on rush. So as a recruitment chair, that's really something important to me, especially with all of the different kind of breakout sessions, being able to talk to people from everywhere from California to New York and everywhere in between, to kind of get those different experiences to be able to be sure that our rush is as successful as anybody else's.
Do you think that now after this conclave you'll be better equipped to go back to Alabama and really hit a home run with recruitment this fall?
Absolutely. We're always excited to see next fall's rush.
Talk to me about this past school year. What was some of the highlights for you guys as a chapter, as well as going into this next school year? What are you trying to achieve, as well as what are some of your goals?
Sure. So obviously as recruitment chairman, I'm always excited about our recruitment numbers. We consistently beat out our internal averages, our chapter averages. So our previous fall, or 2 years ago now, was 17 initiated men. Last year was 23 initiated men.
Very nice.
So we're expecting 25 to 30 men in the fall, so we're always excited to do that. But one of the things I was most excited about was our chapter GPA, where we were the highest on campus at 3.4. beating out over 66 Greek letter organizations on campus.
Wow.
Which really got us excited. Kind of some of the things to work on our end were our new members were a little bit lower than we expected, but that's always new opportunities for our academic advisors to come in and be able to kind of push us forward and push us harder so that we can continue to be on top.
For this next upcoming year, do you guys have like a signature event that you do, whether it be for philanthropy or community service, stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know that it's a signature event because we're always an organization built on philanthropy.
Right.
So we've got for Parents Weekend we've got casino night. We've got actually several casino nights, but we have a Phi Tau exclusive pool party where all the money raised will go to serious fun. We're consistently trying to find ways to both get our guys out into the community and for us to be able to support the community that has supported us for so long.
And you personally won an award at this conclave. Kind of talk about what it means to you to be recognized nationally like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Shideler Award, was really something special to get today. At the end of the day, because we're such a small chapter, being able to improve the chapter in any way we can. It's kind of an all hands on deck when you get into a chapter size like that. So while I am the recruitment chairman, I've worked on everything from standards board to risk management to everything in between. So being able to kind of share in that chapter success is something really special to me.
So being a younger chapter and kind of newer to the Alabama scene, is that a challenge that you guys face kind of every semester, whether it be through recruitment or just trying to hold events just because you're so young?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were chartered in 2014. I think our oldest alumnus right now is about 25 years old. So with no alumni structure and with no reputation to speak of at the University of Alabama, it's kind of hard for other Greek letter fraternities to understand who we are, what we come from, and what we're trying to get out of our fraternal experience. But as we're continuing to strive, what I see that is room for growth, and I think we're one of the chapters that has the most room to grow over the next 5, 10, and 15 years as both our alumni base grows, as our membership base grows, as we continue to increase our goals for philanthropy and Rush. I think we'll be more successful than ever before.
Awesome, man. Well, sounds like you guys are ready to rock and roll for this fall, and I thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, so now I'm joined by the 2019 Maxwell Award winners, the Gamma chapter from Ohio State. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
So, Ryan, I'll ask you since you were there last year. One of the things that stood out, obviously, for Gamma Chapter is that you guys are now in the Final Four, the Founders Four, for 2 straight years. Last year, it seemed like the stars aligned for you guys. You guys had some award-winning numbers put up at Ohio State. You guys were voted best chapter on campus. Kind of talk about what went right last year for you guys.
Well, I guess just last year, we're always trying to improve upon everything that we do, right and wrong in our chapter. But really, it just, like you said, the stars aligned. We had very key members that helped us bring us to the next level. We really helped improve our philanthropy and service through various different strategies, and really just helped, being Founders for last year really helped push us to be better in this next year, not just settle. And we always knew we'd do better, so we just didn't want to settle. We want to keep going, keep getting better, and really helped propel us into this year, and ultimately took us to where we are now.
Would you say that was your main motivation of trying to obviously come out on top again this year, being named a Final Four chapter?
I feel like while that's always in the back of our heads, that isn't ultimately the main motivator, where it's not like awards are everything. It's really important to make sure you're understanding the value of everything, that all the work that you're putting in to give back to the community, give back to a national organization, make sure you're improving the image of Greek life and everything. But it's definitely something that has helped keep us going, keep us motivated, and just make sure that we know we're doing the right thing.
Okay, Stephen, we'll move to you now. Just kind of talk about what you think went right for Gamma this year.
Well, in 2018, I think Gamma made really great strides in a few different areas, and that's kind of what we talked about in our speech. We talked about our service and philanthropy. We got our largest service numbers ever, both in the spring and the fall for each respective semester. We raised the most with our signature philanthropy sale, in our philanthropy event on campus, Buckeye-thon. And we really just have made strides, like Ryan said, in going far with our brotherhood and with our chapter organization. And what we do as individuals, we have pushed ourselves harder and harder every single year. And I think why we maybe won the award this year is because this is the hardest we've ever pushed our members, and it really paid off for us.
Talk about the preparation for the presentation for the Maxwell Award. What went into it? What did you guys do to practice and kind of change from last year to this year?
Yeah. So we kind of looked at what we did last year, and we wanted to definitely do something different. Obviously, the prompt was different, and what we focused on in the speech with the directives from nationals was completely unique. And we kind of looked at our executive board and our members, and we said, what should we highlight in the context of this theme? We worked collaboratively with one another, with some alumni, with our advisors, and we said, what should we highlight in terms of going far? We compiled our information, we pared it down. Ryan, Jake, and I worked together, and we really found a good way to highlight how we, like I said, push our members to, in the context of this year's theme, go farther and be better men of character and on their way to men of distinction.
Awesome. And Jake, now we'll finally move to you. Obviously, what comes along with the Maxwell Trophy is now you guys are officially named the top chapter of Phi Kappa Tau amongst 91 chapters and colonies across the United States. Talk about what that means.
It's hard to describe in words, I guess, for us, what this really means. I think, just being in the room and that, moment where the winner is announced, it's a very surreal experience for us. And I think a lot of it, it's not about the award. It's not about the recognition. It's not about any of that. But really, if anything, it's really just kind of that affirmation that we are doing the right thing and we are on the right path. It's a hard time to be a part of Greek life, especially on our campus. We look at other, chapters and what they're doing well at, and, there's definitely things that appeal to brothers. There's definitely different temptations and different paths that we could have gone, and we kind of question ourselves along the way, is this really the organization we want to become? And this is really just that moment for us to, take a step back and realize we're on the right track, and we're, working very hard to be our true, authentic selves and turn men of character into men of distinction.
And now talk about your Conclave experience. How's this week gone for you all? Obviously, it's great now that you've won the Maxwell, but just in general, have you had fun? Did you learn a lot here at Conclave here in Oxford, Ohio?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm very, fortunate enough to be able to say this is my first national convention conclave gathering that I've been a part of. I had a conflict during Leadership Academy. I remember back my freshman year I had a work conflict and I couldn't go, so Ryan actually went into my place that year. Last year, national convention was in Cleveland and I was off at a conference for the Interfraternity Council, so couldn't make it. So it really was exciting to be a part of this weekend. The sessions were great. The discussions about recruitment and how do we build our organization and continue to go farther. But I think the thing I'm going to take away from this weekend the most is the brotherhood. We're all here, all of us meeting, a lot of us for the first time, driving miles, flying several hundred miles to get here, and feels like we've known each other for years, and it's been an awesome experience to be a part of.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much for coming on. Celebrate, please, safely tonight, and take this back to Columbus with pride. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you guys back in the Founders 4 next year. Thank you. All right, so now I'm joined by Mr. Evan Marshall from Upsilon 2015. Evan, thank you very much for coming on.
Pleasure's all mine.
So jumping right into it, Nebraska Wesleyan now is the all-time leader in the number of Maxwell Awards won by a chapter in Phi Kappa Tau. Is that something that you and your chapter take just pride in?
Oh, absolutely. It's a definite point of pride for us. But we strive to be more than awards because at the end of the day, it's about the men that you have in your chapter. For instance, like in fall during recruitment, we can tell these incoming freshmen how many Maxwell Awards we have, but they're going to presumably have no idea what we're talking about. And it's more important kind of showing the good that we do and whether the awards follow the actions that we take. That's just kind of a circumstance, but we just kind of focus on being a great group of guys that men want to be with and do some good for the community while we're at it.
I think that's a great mindset. I really like that a lot. And kind of talk about, you guys won the Maxwell last year at convention, and then we're in the Founders 4 again this year. Talk about what your chapter did and does well in the past year, but mainly this last year as the representing Maxwell chapters.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a big target on our back, I think, coming back with us winning the most recent Maxwell before this last conclave. So we definitely wanted to take the formula that we have and just kind of add on to it and improve it. So we did another series fun-a-thon this year, modeled after what we do at Conclave each summer. And on top of that, we added a new philanthropy event called the Luau, which is a Hawaii-themed kind of dance in our backyard for serious fun. And we emphasize Meals on Wheels, which is where we deliver food for basically families in our community that would go without. So just kind of taking our philanthropy and service ideals that we want to really emphasize and just adding on to it and trying to do more. Also, brotherhood was maybe something that we thought we could do better on. So during our most recent election, we decided that it was so important that we're going to have 2 brotherhood chairs instead of just one, so we can focus on really building those relationships that really differentiate a fraternity between other organizations on campus. And finally, our academic success is something that we take a lot of pride in, and we wanted to do even more. So we emphasize more study hours, especially for those who are looking to initiate with us. And we got a 3.5 last year, which is really awesome. But wow. Even going forward, we want to do even more than we did last year. So a 3.5 is great, but why wasn't that a 3.6, So we can just take the little incremental steps and really put the responsibility on everyone in our chapter, not just the men on top. And that's kind of always been my favorite part about preparing for the Founders 4 is kind of looking back and seeing what we did, what we didn't do as well, and taking that and presenting obviously what we did really well in and seeing those areas that we can change and improve on and try to do better for next year.
So it sounds like you guys have a very motivated chapter. Is that something that is kind of presented when you're recruiting these men into the fraternity, that we're a high-functioning chapter, we expect so much out of you? Is that something that's clearly presented when you join?
I think partially. We do want to present ourselves in the best light we can, and we kind of want to get these men that we're recruiting, we want them to hit the ground running. So we, as part of our Mark of Distinction program, we have designated service events just for them so they can kind of get a feel for the community service that we take part in. And it's also a great opportunity for them to get to know each other and kind of do some good for the community. I think this is kind of a combination between the men that sign a bid with us know that we're going to ask a lot of them, and we want to make sure they know that before they sign. And also, our Mark of Distinction goes more than just the pre-designated education that we want to show these new associates, which is very important, but also kind of give them a grasp of the academic responsibilities, the philanthropic responsibilities, and just try to make sure these men are up to the task and that they're going to be a great fit for our chapter.
Yeah, I like those ideas a lot. I think they're really helpful, and it's glad to see that's working for your chapter. For your chapter being such a high-performing chapter, is it ever hard to get guys to motivate or to buy in, or do you think that, kind of like what you said through your Market Distinction program and getting guys to buy in, is it more so that that's already ingrained in them that, you want highly motivated guys?
Yeah, so complacency is definitely a problem that we run into, especially the guys who aren't in leadership positions and just don't have that experience. They just think the autopilot is going to stay on and we'll figure it out as we go. So we just kind of want to emphasize that every man in our chapter has a role in our success, and that both makes them feel prideful when we do have that success because they do feel like they had an active participation in it. And it also motivates them to know if they fall through on their part, then we might not be as successful as if they had taken the initiative and participated as much as we expect them to. So it's kind of a two-way street, and we definitely hold each other accountable in that way. We try to stick with positive enforcement and recognizing the men who go above and beyond more than the negative reinforcement of punishing those who don't. And I think when we show our chapter what it takes to go above and beyond, it resonates really well, and more people want to have that recognition, and they really want to motivate themselves to be the best they can.
Awesome. Yeah, I think those are great answers. It's, kind of a common theme. I know, especially with my chapter, I'm sure every chapter kind of runs into the whole complacency thing. So, it's definitely nice to get perspective on what such a high-performing chapter does to kind of nip that in the butt. But, switching gears to yourself, you this past conclave won the Shideler Award, which goes to the most outstanding graduating senior. What does this award mean to you now that you've won it?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's definitely an honor that I do not take lightly, just to be able to be recognized like that, and to also be able to represent my own chapter in such a positive light. On top of that, it was just great because my dad and my brother were able to make the trip out to Oxford, and they were able to see my speech and me get this award, and they were also able to learn more about our fraternity's roots and kind of what makes us unique and different from the other fraternities. I understand that the way that an award like this means and how prestigious it is to be recognized like that, so I'll just have to live up to it for sure. And it was also really neat to have the opportunity to give a speech in front of so many brothers and high-ranking volunteers in our fraternity, and even just to meet more brothers at Conclave. National events like that and kind of seeing everyone come together for a common purpose is really inspiring to me, and kind of reminds me why I like to be so involved in this fraternity, and hopefully it'll motivate my other brothers who came from Upsilon to take that same positive attitude back to our own chapter.
That's definitely awesome that, like you said, your family was there to witness that, and they got to see kind of what you've been a part of these past 4 or so, and what you will be a part of for many years to come. But in going back, you talked about giving a speech. In your speech, you issued a challenge to everyone. What exactly was that challenge, and why did you choose to challenge everybody in that specific way?
Sure, yeah. So the main challenge that I did present in my speech was kind of what I mentioned earlier. It is every brother's responsibility to work to make their respective chapters the best that they can. I just know personally, in my experience, that complacency is definitely something that takes all chapters, whether you're at Founders 4 or you're just starting a colony. It really goes on the shoulders of everyone, top to bottom. And it definitely comes down to every chapter in university has its problems. And it just kind of comes down to how you react to these problems and become a better group of men because of them. I just know how instrumental Phi Tau was for me in improving my character in college. And I guess I just wanted to see every chapter improving the men that they recruit and seeing them become the future leaders that we strive to produce in our fraternity. And just holding each other accountable and understanding the future of fraternities is less guaranteed now more than ever. And it really is on everyone, not just your president, not just the national president, not just staff. Every man that we initiate has to have a bit of a burden of everything that I do represents my chapter, my fraternity, and fraternities as a whole. And just trying to create the men that take pride in this fraternity and that we should take pride in.
I think that's a great challenge, and like you said, it takes everybody, and I think that that's definitely something that can resonate with every brother that's ever been initiated. Kind of like what you said, the challenge goes to everyone. And now that you're graduated, how will you continue to be loyal to not only your college and your chapter, but as well as loyal to Phi Tau as a whole, living out the part of it's not 4 years, now it's for life?
Yeah, absolutely. So just through the 4 years that I was in my chapter, I was able to make a lot of great connections, both with undergraduate brothers at Nebraska Wesleyan and with graduate volunteers throughout the country. So I definitely will still stay in touch with them. And my girlfriend still being in school and a bunch of friends still at the chapter, I'll definitely come back and see them as much as I can. But initially, I might give myself a little space to start my career, and per advice from our Board of Governors members, it's okay to kind of take some time for yourself and not maybe get too involved right away. But I understand that my chapter and this fraternity as a whole gave me so much. So I'll definitely do what I can to give back as a graduate, because it's always awesome seeing and talking to alumni at national events like Conclave and kind of seeing how they in particular are able to give back in their own way, given their time and monetary constraints. But I understand that the good that this fraternity does for all men that we initiate. So if I can take part of that, now that I'm a graduate member, I definitely will take advantage of that.
Well, Evan, thank you very much for coming on to the podcast. It's been great getting to interview you and talk about not only your chapter, but also your award and yourself. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for tuning in to this week's episode of Pod Kappa Tau. I would like to personally say that I had a blast at Conclave. It's really great, as always, to see brothers at national conventions, get to talk to people from around the United States and see not only what they're up to, but also just get to know brothers in general. And I think that we talked about some really great topics this week with dealing with recruitment, which should be on everybody's mind as it is fastly approaching, as well as we got to hand out some awards and recognize some great leaders in the Phi Kappa Tau fraternity. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Have a great week, and go Phi Tau.
We are brothers now and ever, until the day we die. And when that time comes rolling round, and we bid our last goodbye, there is one thing sure and certain: let us bow our heads in awe. We'll meet again in heaven, sure, in the name of